The alarm rang through the station like a scream, dropped his wrench and ran toward the cargo bay. Red lights flashed on every wall. The other workers pushed past him, running the other way but kept moving forward. He had worked on this orbital station for 3 years. He knew every sound it made. This was not a normal alarm. The cargo bay doors were bent inward. Smoke filled the air, covered his mouth with his sleeve and stepped inside. What he saw made him stop breathing. A ship, but not a human ship. It was silver and curved like a teardrop. Strange symbols covered its surface. The metal looked like liquid frozen in time. Had seen pictures of alien vessels on the news feeds. The Empire. They ruled 100 star systems. Humanity had only met them twice, and both times they had looked at humans the way humans looked at insects. The ship was broken. A large crack ran down its side. Something had hit it hard, maybe debris, maybe weapons fire. Did not know. He only knew that the ship was dying. Its lights flickered like a weak heartbeat. He should call security. He should run, but then he heard it. A soft sound, like someone breathing but barely. Climbed over the twisted metal of a broken cargo container. He found the opening in the alien ship. The crack was wide enough for him to squeeze through. The inside smelled strange, like flowers and metal mixed together. Emergency lights painted everything in pale blue. She lay on the floor. Had never seen it before, not in person. She looked almost human, but not quite. Her skin was pale silver like moonlight on water. Her hair was white and long, spreading across the floor like spilled milk. Her eyes were closed. Dark blood, almost purple, pooled beneath her body. She wore strange clothes, rich fabrics with gold threads. Even who knew nothing about aliens could see that these were expensive, important. This was not a regular, this was someone special. He checked for a pulse. Her wrist felt cold, but there was a beat, weak but there. The smart thing was to leave, call the authorities, let them handle it. The Empire was powerful. Getting involved with them meant trouble. Knew this. Every human knew this. But she was dying. Made his choice. He pulled her from the ship and carried her through the cargo bay. She weighed almost nothing. Her body was light like a bird's. He took the back corridors, avoiding the security teams that would surely come soon. His quarters were small, just a bed, a desk, and a tiny bathroom. He laid her on his bed and looked at the wound on her side. He was not a doctor. He fixed machines, not people, but he had some basic medical training. Everyone on the station did. He cleaned the wound. He sealed it with the medical gel from his emergency kit. He worked through the night while she remained unconscious. Her breathing grew stronger. The bleeding stopped. When morning came, her eyes opened. Had been sitting in his chair, half asleep. He jumped when he saw her looking at him. Her eyes were like liquid silver, beautiful and frightening at the same time. They watched him with an expression he could not read. He waited for her to speak, to scream, to attack him, to thank him, something. She said nothing. She simply looked at him. Cleared his throat. His Korean accent made his English rough, but everyone on the station spoke English. It was the common language of space. "You are safe," he said. "I found your ship. You were hurt. I helped you." She blinked, that was all. "Do you understand me? Can you speak?" Nothing. She just watched him with those silver eyes. The days passed, had to work. He could not stay in his quarters forever. He left her there with food and water, hoping she would understand. When he returned that evening, he found her standing by the door, waiting. The next morning, he left for work again. She followed him. Stopped in the corridor and turned around. She stood 3 meters behind him, silent as a shadow. "You cannot follow me," he said. "It is dangerous. People will see you." She did not move. She did not speak. He sighed and kept walking. She followed. At the machine shop, his friend nearly dropped his coffee when he saw her. "What is that?" whispered. "She is said quietly. "I found her. Do not tell anyone." "Are you crazy? The Empire will come looking for her. I know. Then why are you keeping her? Looked back at the alien woman. She stood in the corner of the workshop watching him work. Her silver eyes never left him. Because she has nowhere else to go, he said. The weeks turned into months, fixed machines. The alien woman followed. He called her his shadow because she never left his side. He did not know her name because she never spoke. He tried everything. He asked questions. He showed her pictures. He played music. He read books aloud. Nothing made her speak. Other workers on the station began to notice. Rumors spread. The strange silver woman who followed the mechanic. Some said she was a ghost. Some said she was a robot. Some said was hiding a secret that would bring trouble to them all. They were right about the last part. Knew it too. But every time he looked at her, standing quiet in the corner, watching him with those silver eyes, he could not make himself send her away. One night sat on his bed. She sat on the floor near the door as she always did. He looked at her and smiled sadly. You know, he said, on Earth there is a story about a crane. A man saves a crane and the crane becomes a woman to repay him. She stays with him but she cannot speak her true feelings. Maybe you are like that crane. She tilted her head slightly. The first movement she had made in response to anything he said. Felt something warm in his chest. It was small, but it was hope. Someday, he said softly, I hope you will tell me your story. Her silver eyes held his gaze for a long moment. Then she looked away, back to the darkness outside the window. The stars shone cold and distant. Lay down and closed his eyes. In the silence he heard her breathing, steady and calm. He did not know what the future would bring. He did not know why she followed him or why she would not speak. But for now, in this small room on a station floating in space, they were not alone. And sometimes that was enough. 3 months had passed since found the silver woman in the broken ship. 3 months of silence. 3 months of her following him like a shadow made of moonlight. Had stopped asking her to speak. He had stopped waiting for answers. Instead, he simply talked. Every day while he worked on machines and pipes and broken systems, he talked to her. He did not know if she understood. He did not know if she even listened. But the silence felt less heavy when he filled it with words. Today I will fix the water recycler in Section 7, he said as they walked through the corridor. It is an old machine, older than me, but it still works because someone takes care of it. That is the secret of machines. They need someone to care. She walked behind him, 3 meters back, always the same distance. Her bare feet made no sound on the metal floor. Had tried to give her shoes, but she refused to wear them. She refused many things, but she never refused to follow him. The other workers had grown used to seeing her. At first, they had been afraid. Some had reported her to the station commander. Captain had expected punishment. He had expected them to take the silver woman away. But Captain had surprised him. The Empire has not come looking for her, she had said in her office that day. Until they do, she is not my problem. Keep her out of trouble. That is an order. So had kept her out of trouble. He had given her a corner of his small room. He had shared his food with her, though she barely ate. He had covered her with his blanket when she slept on the floor because she would not take the bed. Came to the workshop every day with new questions. Does she eat? Does she sleep? Does she ever blink? Yes, yes, yes. But she never speaks. Never. Scratched his head. Maybe she cannot speak. Maybe do not have voices. They do, said. He had searched the station's information database. Speak many languages. They are known for their beautiful songs. Their voices are said to be like instruments. Then why does she not speak? Looked across the workshop. She stood in her usual corner watching him. Her silver eyes caught the light from his welding torch. I do not know, he said quietly, but I think it is her choice. That night sat on the floor with her. He had stopped sitting on the bed. It felt wrong to be above her. So he sat beside her, his back against the cold wall. "Let me tell you about Earth," he said. "I have not been there for 5 years. I miss it sometimes." She turned her head slightly toward him, listening perhaps. "Korea," he said. "That is where I am from. A small country but beautiful. We have mountains and rivers and cities made of light. In spring, the cherry blossoms fall like pink snow. In winter, the streets are white and quiet." He closed his eyes, remembering. "My mother used to make soup for me when I was sick. It was hot and salty, and it made everything feel better. I can still taste it sometimes when I dream." He opened his eyes and looked at her. "Humans have a word, home. It does not just mean a place, it means a feeling, a warmth inside you. Do you have that word?" She did not answer, but she did not look away either. Continued to talk. Night after night he told her stories. Stories about humanity, stories about Earth, stories about the small things that made humans who they were. He told her about the first time humans went to the moon, how they had used machines made of metal and hope, how they had looked back at their small blue planet and realized how precious it was. He told her about the wars, the terrible wars where humans killed each other over land and ideas and fear, how they had nearly destroyed themselves many times, how they had always found a way to keep going. He told her about love, how humans bonded with each other, how they would die for their families, how they would cross oceans and stars for the people they cared about. "We are not perfect," he said one night. "Humans make many mistakes. We are selfish. We are scared. We hurt each other sometimes, but we also help each other. We also forgive. That is what makes us strong, not our technology, not our weapons, our hearts." She watched him with those silver eyes. Something in them had changed over the months. They were softer now, warmer. One day was working on a difficult repair. A pipe had burst in the lower levels, flooding a storage room. He worked for hours, his hands covered in grease and cold water. She stood nearby, watching as always. When he finally finished, he was exhausted. He sat down on a wet crate and put his head in his hands. His body ached, his eyes burned. Then he felt something, a touch, light as a feather. He looked up. She was standing in front of him. Her hand was on his shoulder. Her silver fingers rested there, gentle and careful. She did not speak, but for the first time she had reached out to him. Felt tears in his eyes. He did not know why. It was just a touch, just a small moment, but it meant everything. "Thank you," he whispered. She pulled her hand back. She stepped away, but something had changed between them. The rumors on the station grew louder. Some workers said had fallen in love with an alien. Others said the silver woman had bewitched him. Some said she was dangerous. Some said she was beautiful. Everyone had an opinion. Did not care. He had found something rare in this cold station floating in the darkness of space. He had found connection, understanding without words, companionship without demands. One night he showed her pictures from his personal files, pictures of Earth, pictures of his family, pictures of the home he had left behind. "This is my sister," he said, pointing to a young woman with a bright smile. "She teaches children on Earth. She sends me messages sometimes. She says she is proud of me." The silver woman looked at the picture. Then she looked at. Her hand moved slowly toward the screen. Her finger touched the image of his face. Watched her carefully. "Do you have family?" he asked. For a moment something passed across her face. Pain, maybe, or longing. Then it was gone, hidden behind her silver mask. She lowered her hand and stepped back. Did not push. He had learned patience in these 3 months. He had learned to wait. She would tell him when she was ready, or she would not. Either way, he would be there. "You know," he said softly, "humans have another word, friend. It means someone who stays with you, someone who cares about you, someone you choose to keep in your life." He looked at her and smiled. "I think you are my friend." She tilted her head. Her silver eyes seemed to glow in the dim light. And though she did not speak, felt something pass between them, a warmth, a understanding. Outside the window, the stars burned like distant fires. Somewhere out there, the Empire waited. Somewhere out there, danger was coming. But in this small room, two souls from different worlds had found each other. And for now, that was enough. The ships came without warning. Was eating breakfast when the station shook. The lights flickered. A deep humming sound filled the air like a giant machine waking from sleep. He grabbed the edge of the table and looked at the silver woman. She was standing by the window, frozen. Her face had changed. For the first time, saw fear in her silver eyes. Captain's voice came through every speaker on the station. Attention all personnel. 3 warships have entered our sector. They are requesting communication. All workers report to your stations. This is not a drill. Stood up slowly. He walked to the window and looked out. What he saw made his blood run cold. 3 ships hung in the darkness. They were massive, 10 times larger than the station. Their hulls were pure white, glowing with an inner light, beautiful and terrible at the same time, like angels made of metal. "They are here for you," said quietly. She did not move, she did not speak, but a single tear, silver like mercury, rolled down her cheek. Had never seen her cry before. The station commander's office was crowded when arrived. Captain stood at her desk, her face hard as stone. On the large screen behind her appeared. He was tall and pale, with silver hair pulled back tight. His eyes were cold. "I am Admiral of the Empire," the alien said. His voice was like ice. "You have something that belongs to us. Return the princess and we will leave in peace." Captain crossed her arms. "We have no princess here." "Do not lie to us, human. Our sensors have tracked her signal to your station. Princess of the royal house crashed here 4 months ago. You have been hiding her." Now knew her name. Captain glanced at her eyes, asked a question, shook his head slightly. "Even if she is here," Captain said, "why should we return her? She has not asked for your help." Admiral's expression did not change. "She is property of the Empire. She has no right to ask for anything. Return her within 1 hour or we will take her by force." The screen went dark. The room erupted in voices. Some workers said to give her up, others said to fight. Everyone was scared. Stepped forward, Captain. Looked at him, "Speak." "She has been with me for 4 months. She has never hurt anyone. She has never caused trouble. Whatever the Empire wants with her, it is not good. I will not let them take her." One mechanic against 3 warships raised an eyebrow. "One human against an empire," said. "Is that not how our history always goes?" A moment of silence, then stepped forward. "I am with him," he said. Another worker stepped forward, then another, and another. Soon half the room was standing with. Captain looked at them for a long time. Then a small smile crossed her face. "Humans," she said softly, "we are truly crazy." She turned to her officers. "Begin lockdown procedures, hide the princess. If they want to fight, we will give them one." Ran back to his quarters. Was still standing by the window, watching the warships. "We are going to hide you," he said. "Come with me." For the first time, she resisted. She grabbed his arm and shook her head. "You do not want us to fight for you?" asked. She shook her head again. Her silver eyes were wide with something he had never seen before. Worry, for him. "Listen to me," said firmly. "Humans do not give up the people they care about. It is not in our nature. We will fight. We will lose. We will get up and fight again. That is who we are." She stared at him. Another silver tear fell. "Now come," he said, taking her hand. "Trust me." She let him lead her through the station. Workers everywhere were preparing for battle. Some carried weapons. Some carried tools. None of them had any real chance against technology, but none of them were running. Led to the deepest part of the station, an old storage area that had not been used for years. The walls were thick. The sensors could not reach here. "You will stay here," he said. "No matter what happens, do not come out, promise me." She looked at him with those silver eyes. She opened her mouth. For a moment thought she would speak. But she closed it again. Instead, she reached out and touched his face. Her fingers were cool against his skin. She traced the line of his jaw, gentle as a whisper. Then she nodded. Smiled. Good. I will come back for you, I promise. He turned to leave. He took 3 steps. Then he heard it. A sound soft, beautiful, like wind through crystal bells. He turned around. Her lips moved. No words came out, but her throat made that beautiful sound, a single note that hung in the air like a prayer. Felt tears in his own eyes now. He did not know what it meant, but he knew it meant something. I will come back, he said again. Then he left her in the darkness. On the station bridge, Captain faced the Admiral one last time. Your hour is up, Admiral said. Where is the princess? She is under our protection, replied. We will not give her to you. The Admiral looked confused, truly confused. You are one small station. We are 3 warships. You cannot win. We know. Then why do you resist? Leaned forward. Because she asked for our help. Because she is scared. Because we are human and this is what we do. The Admiral shook his head slowly. You strange creatures. You illogical, emotional, foolish creatures. You would die for a stranger. Every single day, said. She cut the communication. Alarms screamed through the station. The ships moved closer. Their weapons began to glow. In the storage room, deep in the station's core, pressed her hands against the cold wall. She could feel the vibrations of the approaching ships. She could hear the humans preparing to die for her. For her, a princess who had run away from her own empire, a woman who had not spoken a word in 4 months, a stranger. She had followed because he was kind, because he asked nothing from her, because he talked to her like she was a person, not a possession. In the empire, words were sacred. To speak was to bind your soul. To say someone's name was to claim them. To make a promise was to seal your fate. Had been silent because she was afraid of what her words might mean, afraid of what she might confess. But now, as the walls shook and the humans went to war for her, she understood something. Some things were worth speaking for. Some people were worth binding your soul to. She closed her eyes and pressed her forehead against the wall. Through the metal, she could feel the heartbeat of the station, the humans running, the weapons firing, the desperate hope that kept them fighting. And she made a decision. When came back for her, she would speak. She would tell him everything. The first blast hit the station like a giant fist. Fell against the wall. Around him, sparks flew and metal screamed. Emergency lights painted everything in red. Somewhere, someone was yelling orders. Somewhere else, someone was crying. But did not stop. He pushed himself up and kept running. The warships were attacking. Their weapons were precise and cruel. Each shot punched through the station's shields like a knife through paper. The humans fired back with everything they had. It was like throwing stones at a mountain. Reached the main corridor and saw chaos. Workers ran in every direction. Some carried fire extinguishers. Some carried wounded friends. A young woman with burns on her face stumbled past him and caught her before she fell. The medical bay, he said. Go to the medical bay. She nodded and kept moving. Appeared beside him, his face covered in sweat and dust. They are boarding, shouted over the noise. Soldiers on the lower levels. His heart went cold. The lower levels, near the storage room, near. We have to stop them, he said. They ran together through the shaking corridors. The lights flickered. The walls groaned. Every few seconds, another explosion rocked the station, but they kept moving. On the lower levels, the fighting had already started. Human security officers faced soldiers in the narrow halls. They were tall and strong, their silver armor glowing like ice. They moved with impossible speed. Their weapons fired beams of white light that cut through everything. The humans died. One by one they fell, but they did not run. A security officer named stood at the front. He was an older man, his hair gray, his hands steady. He had been on the station for 20 years. "Hold the line," he shouted. "Do not let them pass." He fired his weapon again and again. A soldier fell. Another took its place. Grabbed a weapon from a fallen officer. He had no training. He barely knew how to aim, but he stood beside and fired into the silver wall of enemies. "You are the mechanic," said between shots. "Why are you here?" "Because she is here," replied. Laughed a short, hard sound. "Love makes us stupid." "Yes, it does." They fought together. They fought until their weapons were empty. They fought until the soldiers pushed them back, step by step, toward the storage room. Sback hit the door. Behind this door was everything he was trying to protect. He threw away his empty weapon and raised his fists. The soldiers stopped. Their leader stepped forward. He was different from the others, taller. His armor was gold instead of silver, a commander. "Move aside, human," the commander said. His voice echoed in the smoky hallway. "You cannot win this fight. Give us the princess." "No," said. The commander tilted his head. "You are injured. You are alone. Your friends are dead or dying. Why do you still resist?" Spat blood from his mouth. His ribs hurt. His arms hurt. Everything hurt. "Because that is what humans do," he said. "We do not stop. We do not give up. You can break our bodies, but you cannot break our spirit." The commander stared at him for a long moment. Something like curiosity flickered in his cold eyes. "Interesting," he said, "but foolish." He raised his weapon. The door behind opened. Stepped out. She moved between and the commander. Her silver skin glowed in the emergency lights. Her white hair flowed behind her like a river. She looked like a goddess walking into a war. She raised her hand toward the soldiers. And she spoke. The words were in a language did not understand, but he felt them, deep in his bones, deep in his soul. The words vibrated through the air like thunder. They pressed against the walls. They pushed back the smoke. They filled the corridor with power. The soldiers fell to their knees. The commander dropped his weapon. His eyes went wide. "Princess," he gasped, "the ancient words, you spoke the ancient words." Continued to speak. Her voice was beautiful and terrible. It was the sound of mountains falling. It was the sound of stars being born. It was the most powerful thing had ever heard. When she finished, silence filled the corridor. The commander stood slowly. His face was pale. "You have invoked the sacred bond," he said. "You have bound yourself to this, human." Looked at, for the first time he saw her smile. But then the moment shattered. One of the fallen soldiers moved. His finger pressed a button, a last desperate act. The wall beside exploded. Did not think, he threw himself at her. He wrapped his body around hers. He turned his back to the blast. Fire and metal tore through him. Then darkness. When opened his eyes, he was on the floor. Pain filled his entire body. He could not feel his legs. He could not feel his hands. All he could feel was pain. And her was holding him, her arms wrapped around his broken body. Her face was above his, and tears, silver tears, streamed down her cheeks. "Stay," she said. Blinked had he imagined it. "Stay with me," she said again. Her voice was soft and broken, like a bird learning to fly. "Please stay." She was speaking. After 4 months of silence, she was speaking. Tried to smile, but his lips would not move. Everything was fading. The lights were getting dim. Her face was becoming blurry. He whispered. She pressed her forehead against his. Her tears fell on his face. "Do not leave me," she begged. "You taught me what kindness means. You showed me what love means. You stupid, beautiful human, do not leave me now." Wanted to answer. He wanted to tell her that he would never leave. He wanted to tell her that he had loved her from the moment she first followed him. He wanted to tell her so many things. But the darkness was coming. The last thing he saw was her face, her silver eyes, her tears. The last thing he heard was her voice. "I will not lose you, I will not." Then everything went black. Held his broken body and screamed. It was a sound that shook the stars. It was a sound that echoed through the corridors, through the station, through the ships. It was the sound of a princess breaking. The commander watched in horror. He had never seen a royal show such emotion. He had never seen anyone speak the ancient words for a human. "What has he done to her?" one of his soldiers whispered. The commander shook his head slowly. "He loved her," he said quietly. "That is all, he simply loved her." And for the first time in his long life, the commander felt something strange. Respect for a human. Floated in darkness. It was not cold, it was not warm, it was simply nothing. Empty space, quiet, peaceful in a strange way. He thought he was dead. Maybe this was what death felt like for humans, an endless floating, a gentle silence. But then he heard her voice. Faint at first, like a whisper from very far away, but it grew louder, stronger, pulling him back from the nothing. "Come back to me, come back to me, come back to me." Over and over, a prayer, a command, a desperate wish. Tried to reach toward the voice. He had no hands, he had no body, but he reached anyway with something deeper, something that had no name. And then light. Bright, blinding, painful. He opened his eyes. He was in a white room. Medical machines hummed around him, tubes connected to his arms. Pain covered his body like a heavy blanket. But he was alive. Sat beside him. Her head rested on the bed, her white hair spread across the sheets. She was holding his hand, sleeping. Her face was tired and pale. Tried to speak, but his throat was dry. He made a small sound, barely a whisper. Her eyes opened instantly. For a moment she just stared at him. Then tears filled her silver eyes. "You are awake," she said. Her voice was rough from crying. "You are alive." "How long?" managed to ask. 3 weeks, she said. "You almost died many times, but I would not let you." She squeezed his hand. Her fingers were warm now, not cold like before. "The doctors said it was impossible, too much damage, too much blood lost, but I spoke the healing words over you, day and night. I did not stop until you returned to me." Looked at her, she was different now, not the silent shadow who followed him. She was fierce, strong, alive. "You saved me," he said. "You saved me first," she replied. "Every day for 4 months you saved me, with your kindness, your stories, your foolish human heart. Now we are equal." She smiled, and it was the most beautiful thing he had ever seen. The door opened. Captain walked in, followed by the commander from the battle. They looked strange standing together, enemies who had somehow become something else. "Good," said looking at, "you are finally awake. We have much to discuss." Tried to sit up, but pain shot through his body, gently pushed him back down. "Rest," she said. "I will explain." She turned to face the room. When a speaks the ancient words, it creates a bond that cannot be broken. It is our most sacred act. It ties 2 souls together forever. I spoke those words for. The commander stepped forward. His name would learn later, one of the highest admirals in the empire. "In our history," said, "no royal has ever spoken the ancient words for an outsider, for a human." He paused. "What you have done, princess, has changed everything." "Good," said simply. "Everything needed to change." She looked at the captain and the admiral. "For too long the empire has seen other species as lesser beings. We have conquered. We have ruled. We have never listened. But this man, this simple mechanic, showed me more kindness in 4 months than my own people showed me in 200 years. She took his hand again. "He talked to me when I could not answer. He cared for me when he had no reason to. He fought for me when he had no hope. He is what humanity truly is, not their weapons, not their ships, their hearts." Captain crossed her arms. Beautiful speech, but what does it mean for us? Your warships nearly destroyed my station. Bowed his head. By our law, the princess has claimed this human as her bonded partner. That makes him equal to nobility, and by extension it makes your station sacred ground. Raised an eyebrow. Sacred ground. No ship may attack it. No soldier may set foot here without permission. It is now under the protection of the royal house. The room fell silent. Stared at. You did this, for me, for us. She leaned down and pressed her forehead to his. I did this because it was right, because humanity deserves a chance, because you deserve everything I can give. She pulled back and looked into his eyes. There is one thing I have not said yet, one sentence I have been avoiding for a long time, not because I did not feel it, but because I was scared of what it meant. She took a deep breath. My soul chose you long ago. The words hung in the air, felt them enter his heart. They were warm and bright, like sunlight after a long winter. In culture, those words were the most powerful declaration of love. To say them was to give your soul to another person, forever, without condition. And she had chosen him, a human mechanic from a small country on a tiny planet. She had chosen him. I do not deserve this, whispered. Deserve has nothing to do with it, she said. Love is not about deserving, it is about choosing, and I choose you. The weeks that followed changed everything. News of the princess and her human bondage spread through the galaxy. Some were angry, some were confused, but many were curious. For the first time, they looked at humanity not as insects, but as something more. A delegation came to the station, high officials from the Empire. They wanted to meet the human who had captured their princess's heart. Still recovering from his injuries, sat in a chair beside as they entered. He wore his simple mechanic's clothes. He had no fancy words to say. The lead official looked at him with cold eyes. You are the one who stole our princess. I stole nothing, said. She chose me, there is a difference. And what makes you worthy of such a choice? Thought about the question. What made him worthy? He was not strong, he was not smart, he was not powerful. But then he thought about his mother's soup, his sister's smile, the cherry blossoms falling in spring, the stories he had told in the dark nights, the humans who had fought and died to protect a stranger. I do not know if I am worthy, he said finally, but I know that I will spend every day trying to be. I will love her, I will protect her, I will stand beside her. That is all I can promise. The official stared at him for a long moment. Then slowly he bowed his head. Perhaps, the official said, we have underestimated your species. 1 year later, the first human alliance was signed. It started small, trade agreements, cultural exchanges, scientists working together, but it grew. Year by year, it grew into something neither species could have imagined. Humanity was no longer alone in the universe. They had allies now, partners, friends. And it all started with a mechanic who talked to a silent princess and stood on the observation deck of the station. Below them, the earth turned slowly, blue and beautiful. Above them, ships hung in formation, peaceful now. Leaned against his shoulder. Do you ever regret it, she asked, saving me that day? Put his arm around her. Never, he said, not for a single moment. She smiled. Good, because you are stuck with me now, forever. I know, he said, and I would not have it any other way. They stood there together watching the stars, two souls from different worlds, bound by words, bound by choice, bound by love. And in the silence between them, there was no longer emptiness. There was warmth, there was home, there was everything they needed. In the end, it was not weapons or technology that changed the fate of two civilizations. It was kindness. It was patience. It was a human who talked to a princess who could not answer. And it was a princess who finally spoke the words that mattered most. My soul chose you long ago. Those 6 words echoed through history. And the universe was never the same.